Hello and welcome to Italian Serie A Matchday 26. Last weekend we saw Inter losing the Derby d'Italia with Juventus. We saw Napoli dropping points again, and this week has been a terrible week for Italian teams in the Champions League. Leo, all three teams out. Atalanta, Juve and Milan go home.
Absolutely, Edu. Was a terrible week in Europe for Italian teams, which is going to have a consequence on the Serie A league table, because 2 or 3 weeks ago we were thinking that Serie A was going to have that 5th spot for qualifying to the Champions League, and now we know it's not going to happen. It's going to be for the Premier League and La Liga. So yes, absolutely a week to forget in Italian football.
Totally, but there are so many things to talk about in every single big team, in my opinion. So guys, this show is going to be very interesting. Leave me your comments and of course press the like, subscribe. Let's go on now with the show. And let's start on Friday with Lecce Udinese. Lecce caught a point against Monza and also against Bologna. It's 5 points in the last 9 games, but they are comfortable, 5 points away from Parma. Even more comfortable, Leo. Udinese beating Empoli. Probably 𝐿𝐵𝐴 is one of the players of the moment in Italy after scoring a beauty against Napoli, a brace against Empoli. This could be easily a draw. Actually, having Udinese in the mix, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yes, and I'm going to be pointing to goals under, which it might take us to a draw, very likely as well as an outcome for this Lecce Udinese. For Udinese, yes, they are comfortable in the 10th position, even though 𝐶𝐞𝐿, their manager, keeps talking like if Udinese is somehow in the mix for the relegation battle, but no, they are not, and it's not going to happen even by the time we are in April or May. They had a very pleasing 3-0 win against Empoli. It was important for them after Napoli match to provide another good performance. Of course, there were 2 different games. No, with Napoli, we saw Udinese absolutely reactive. They gave away possession, but last weekend they were much more dangerous in attack. They took the game to Empoli's half. And you are right to say that 𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐿 is the player of the moment for Udinese, because actually he has 3 goals this season, and all of them in the last 2 matches for the Dutch player. But it's good for Udinese to get goals from midfielders, not to rely only on Lorenzo Luca or Kane Davis, although Kane Davis for a long time we haven't seen him scoring, and also dealing as well with injuries. As I said, they won't be involved in the red zone at all. The last time they visited the relegation battling team, that was against Como in the lake, and they lost 4-1. But I don't see that happening now, of course, against Lecce, who they had a 0-0 draw with Monza on Matchday 25, with at the end of the day, it's not too bad, even if we are talking about Monza, because when we look at the table, they are 5 points above the red zone. It was the 7th time they drew this season. Edu is a team, I always say, which cannot score. 14 games out of 25, they couldn't score. Lecce this season, only 18 goals for them. They haven't scored also, Lecce, in the last 3 games at home. 2 0-0 draws with Genoa and Bologna, and also a 4-0 defeat with Inter. But again, the most important stat for them is when we look at the table, and they are 5 points above the relegation zone. My take here, Edu, I see the parities in the odds, which likely to be taken to a draw, but I'm going for the goals market goals under 2.5, odds of 1.60.
More exciting games to come in this weekend. Parma Bologna. This is kind of a regional derby, and it's a must win for Parma in the relegation spots. Lost to Parma. They were down to 10 men, 4 consecutive defeats for Parma in the worst moment of the season for sure, and Bologna 1 point away from the European spots after beating Torino with an own goal. I think we tipped a draw there, Leo. It was this close to be a draw in the Bologna game.
Yes, absolutely, Edu. Sorry, while I change here just my microphone. Yeah, there we go. Yes, we were so close, just on added time. Bologna managed to win the game, and actually was with a bizarre own goal from 𝗵𝗵𝗍𝗍. And for Parma, another weekend, another defeat, Edu. And they have a new coach. Now I start with them because they have a new coach, and in 𝐿𝐸𝐴. If you remember the Inter center back, he's replacing now Fabio Pecchia, the man who took Parma.
Romania.
Exactly. Yes, the Romanian 𝐿𝐸𝐴. He was, I don't know, he doesn't have a lot of experience as a manager, but he was involved with the media for the last 2 seasons a lot in Italy, 𝐿𝐸𝐴, and he got the chance. But now replacing someone who took Parma to Serie A last season, but it was difficult for Pecchia to keep the post after the 5th defeat in the last 6, 8 in the last 11 matches for Parma. But more importantly, it was a defeat that saw them drop into the relegation zone for the first time this season. Everything changed after 31 minutes for Parma, because first they awarded a penalty to Roma and a yellow card to Giovanni Leoni, the center back. Then the yellow card was upgraded to a red card. And then they say that the foul was not a penalty, which we may have thought, okay, it's better for Parma. No, because from that free kick, 𝐿𝐸𝐴 scored a beauty for Roma. So everything that could have gone wrong went wrong in those minutes for the yellow blue. I look at the odds for an away win, and I really like them, because Bologna is completely the opposite to Parma at the moment. They are resilient, they are fighting for European places, they are on a run of 10 games undefeated. Yes, they got lucky, I just said, against Torino, but I'm saying resilient because Bologna won from behind already 3 games in 2025. I'm saying they got lucky because of 𝗵𝗍𝗍𝗀's goal, which was, again, I'm saying, absolutely bizarre. They're with 41 points, 5 behind Juventus and Lazio, but let's not forget they play next week that game with Milan. So basically, if they win, they could be just 2 points behind Lazio and Juventus. But before they think about Milan, of course, they need to do the job at the Ennio Tardini. Last time they lost on the road Bologna, that was back in November, but since then it's 2 wins and 6 draws in all competitions. But in Serie A, it's 1 win in the last 5 away. The rest have been draws for them. But again, I really like those odds on Bologna. That's why my take is Bologna to win 1.95.
Let's go to the north. Venezia, Lazio. Venezia penultimate in the standings and hopeless. Lost 2-0 to Genoa, 3 consecutive defeats, 8 games without winning. Remember, they always lose by short margins against the big teams, and this Lazio should be considered big. They are doing a great season. They are alive, remember, in the Europa League, and they caught a great point against Napoli. Again, they... Napoli couldn't beat Lazio with Dia scoring a great goal. They are level on points with Juve, so they are fighting for the Champions League, Leo.
Yes, and again, it's going to be a tight and difficult fight because there's 1 less spot now for the Serie A, so everyone is going to go for that 4th spot. Lazio, Juventus, we're going to see if there's going to be a late push or not from Milan. Bologna, was saying before, they could be there in the mix too. Lazio, valuable point against Napoli, not only because it was against the league leaders, but also because it keeps them there in the battle with Lazio, also with the Juventus, also because it happened like with 5 minutes to go only, with Gustav Isaksen, who had 3 goals this season, and 2 of them against Napoli, 1 at the Diego Armando Maradona and in the reverse fixture, and 1 more last Sunday. We spoke before of Lazio overachieving probably in the first semester, but at their best they are still an entertaining team to watch. Zaccagni and Isaksen on the wings, Boulaye Dia or Pedro behind the striker. Against Napoli was Pedro, and he had a good game, and they're gonna extend his contract. That's what it was said after the game. Rovella in midfield provides a very good equilibrium to the team. The one which I'm not very fond is maybe Matteo Guendouzi. I've never been a big fan of him, but when he's in a good afternoon or a good night, he does the job perfectly. 7 points from the last 9 for Lazio, and 6 of those have been wins against Cagliari and Monza, and now another relegation contender on the way before they travel to San Siro for Coppa Italia against Inter. And then they're going to face Milan as well in San Siro, but that's going to be next week on Matchday 27. Venezia winless run of 8 matches, 5 points from safety. It looked very, very difficult for them. It seemed that after those consecutive draws with Juventus and Como and the win against Cagliari, there could have been a resurrection for them, but nothing of sort. 5 defeats since then, and 3 of them consecutively, the last 3. So my take here is Lazio first half Asian handicap minus 0.5, odds of 2.25.
Lazio 46 points, level on points with Juve, and Milan trying to catch them. 5 points behind, 7th in the standings, playing in Torino. One of these teams really disappointing in the European week, especially, I guess everyone is talking about the dive of Theo Hernandez, showing the second yellow card and being sent off when the team had to come back against Feyenoord. Never in the life of Milan, a club like Feyenoord should kick you out of the competition. What is gonna Jimenez think, for instance, moving from Feyenoord to Milan, scoring the winner, by the way, against Verona, but Theo Hernandez did a stupid thing, and the club is out. Leo, the only way to save the season is via Coppa Italia. They are still alive there and qualifying for the Champions League, but the bookies place them as favorites against Torino, and I cannot see it. Remember, Torino, the kings of draws, 6 draws in the last 8 games.
Absolutely, and we're going to need to be pointing to that way. To be honest, after the red card that suffered Theo Hernandez, no, he didn't suffer. I mean, to be honest, he looked for it with that dive in a way. And the elimination of Milan, I was like eating popcorn, looking at Sergio Conceição's press conference to see what he was going to say about Theo Hernandez. But no, he was fine. He was okay. He wasn't like Gasperini. We're going to go into that later, I guess, when we talk about Atalanta. But Sergio Conceição had less harsh words with Theo. But to be honest, in another time, I would have thought that Sergio Conceição could have been fired after the Champions League exit they do with Feyenoord. This is financial tragedy for Milan, especially when you think the chances to qualify for the next Champions League are slim, or at least not great for them. They are 7th. And yes, the chance of shortening the gap to 2 points next week if they beat Bologna, the same that is happening to Bologna. But for that, they need to do the job in Turin on Saturday too, and to see them getting 6 points against Torino and Bologna at the moment, for me is difficult, to be honest. Conceição, against of what I thought at the beginning, he already tried to play with Reinders, Leao, Pulisic, João Felix, and Santi Jimenez all from the start. That was in the first leg against Feyenoord in Rotterdam. Then last weekend against Verona, he tried with Sotil and Musa instead to try to get players who will track back a little bit more. But the team lacked spark in attack against Verona, especially in the first half. Then in the second, Pulisic came on, Leao came on, and things went a little bit different. After Tuesday, I don't think against Torino we're going to see a full attacking pack, because if Torino knows something, is that they like to wait, to give you the ball and punish you if they can at the counter, a team which is very difficult to break Torino at the back. 6 games unbeaten on the road for the first time since May 2023. That was Torino was looking against Bologna, but in the end they couldn't make that 6 games unbeaten because of that own goal from Biraghi in the dying moments of the match. It was their first defeat in the last 8 for Torino. And the defeat with Bologna was also the first goals over 2.5 in the last 7 for them. At home is 4 without losing, 1 win and 3 draws, and Milan away is 3 wins in the last 4. All those wins have been against Como, Verona and Empoli. So I will be pointing to the beginning of this conversation of Torino-Milan. Draw for me. My take here is a draw, Edu, and the odds are very, very good. Of course, Torino-Milan for me is a draw, 3.5.
I got it, your point. Inter Milan Genoa is the next one. Inter had their own bad week after losing the Derby d'Italia against Juventus. Perhaps they deserve more, especially in the first half, but they ended up losing. They haven't been able to beat Juventus. This season, I guess it's time for them to bounce back. They have Lazio in Coppa Italia and Napoli in Serie A the following weekend. So eyes on Inter to beat Genoa, although Genoa are in great form, Leo, especially at home, but still it's a dangerous team.
Yeah, they are, and the last time they visit San Siro, although it was against Milan, they took a 0-0. I mean, it was a game which, in normal circumstances, maybe they would have lost, because Milan on that night, they had a lot of chances, but still it was a good draw for Genoa. It's massive the job that Patrick Vieira is doing. On Matchday 25, 2-0 against Venezia. In the last 8 minutes, they scored 2 goals. Genoa with Max Cornet, his first goal in Serie A after arriving on loan from West Ham, and his first goal since January 2024 for him. For Pinamonti, who scored the first one in that 2-0 against Venezia, was the 8th goal of the season. He scored 11th last season with Sassuolo, so he's very likely, why not, to break that goal scoring record. It's 20 points from possible 39 since Vieira's arrival for Genoa, so which is absolutely great. And Inter, yes, a defeat in Turin. If there was something similar in the defeat last Sunday against Juventus with that 4-4 in San Siro last year, is that they missed many chances, especially in the first half. So I guess most of the regret and disappointment came from that. Also, Edu, Inter's second half wasn't as good as the first one. True, they were creating opportunities again. Just when Juventus scored, they actually scored minutes after Zalewski almost scored himself for Inter. Taremi had another chance of playing a big game, and once again it is clear that Lautaro and Marcos Thuram cannot leave the starting 11. I know the rotation and all that, but if Inter is serious about winning the Serie A, and they are the best candidates still for us to do it, if they want to go long in the Champions League, the Argentine and the French have to lead the attack always. Taremi, Arnautovic, Joaquín Correa, the Argentinian, are not options for top prices. They have collected 4 points from the last 12. The draw with Milan in the derby, and the defeats with Fiorentina and Juventus, and that's why they couldn't take advantage of Napoli also dropping points in the last 3 games. My take here, Edu, as you said, this Genoa, although it's doing better things at home with Patrick Vieira, they have been a different team. So I'm gonna go for a first half double chance Genoa, with very good odds. First half, double chance Genoa, 2.18.
Big surprise. It would be. Well, I'm talking about the race for the title. By the way, the odds are the same now. Inter 2.0, Napoli 2.0 to win the Scudetto. Como Napoli, before this Napoli-Inter of the following weekend, it shouldn't be easy, this game for Napoli. Como got a great win in Firenze, in Florence, with 𝐬𝐿 and Nico Paz, scoring again 5 points away from Parma right now. And as we were saying, Leo, Napoli dropping points against Lazio and Udinese. And at home, next games, they have Inter, they have Fiorentina, and they have Milan.
Yes, the tough run is coming for them. And this one, Como Napoli, Edu, for me, is one of the best games you're going to have on this Matchday 26. I'm really looking forward. Conte, again, frustrated to leave the capital with a draw in the last minutes, similar to what happened to Napoli against Roma. It's 3 draws in a row for them, when before that they won 7 in a row. But we look at the table and they're still top, because, yes, we just mentioned before, Inter was also dropping points in the last 4 games. But now a tough time is coming for a squad which we said that many times. They don't have it's not as deep as Inter, it's not as deep as Juventus or even Milan. So what Napoli is doing is amazing, but well, they need to keep it up now at this moment. But the time of the kickoff, Inter anyway could be 1 point above Napoli, so they will have to deal as well with that pressure, this team, especially when, as you said, next week they're going to be facing Inter. They need Romelu Lukaku finding the net again. He hasn't scored since the win against Juventus. And for Como, it was an amazing win in Firenze. Again, with a superb 𝐿𝐵𝐵𝗀, MVP of the match. He scored, and he has 6 to his name this season. And this one was the first one he scored on the road, because the other 5 were all scored at the Lake. 𝐿𝐴Z𝐳 also scoring again. He's having a great start in Serie A, 4 goals in his first 7 matches. For Como was also the first away clean sheet in the league in Serie A, and they edge away from the drop zone. They are 13 and 5 points clear. Fabregas changed the system. 𝐿𝐵𝐵𝗀 falls 9. I think the position for him is good, because he has liberty to move wherever he wants, and talented players need that freedom. Sometimes he was a 9, sometimes was 𝐷𝗀, the number 9, because the 𝐿𝐴Z𝐳 can start as a left winger, but then he can move inside. On the other side, they have Strefezza, who is more of a classical winger and someone who can also track back. The midfield trio of 𝐷𝗀𝗏, Maxi Perrone, and 𝐶𝐭𝐻𝐿 was solid. So I think there is a way forward on this system and this formation for Fabregas. I expect goals here, Edu. 9 out of 12 matches at the Lake have been both teams to score. So my take here is both teams to score, yes, 1.95.
Good test for Napoli in Como. Next game is Verona Fiorentina. Verona 3 points away from Parma, lost to Milan, and 5-0 in the last home game against Atalanta. Remember, for Fiore, we didn't expect that defeat against Como after the back-to-back games against Inter. Still fighting for Europe. Fiorentina, good odds if we want to back them, Leo.
Yes, the odds are good on them, and they are, of course, still the favorite, despite being on 2 consecutive defeats for La Viola. It was a painful one against Como. Personally, looking at the run before that game of Como, I didn't see that one coming. They are 6 with 42 points in a Conference League position, which is more realistic, I believe, for them. I'm saying it's more realistic because if they would have won against Como, they would have been on 45 points, which is only just 1 point behind the Champions League spots at the moment. The thing with Fiorentina lately is this a bit of inconsistency. We don't know if you're going to get the Fiorentina that won 3-0 in Firenze against Inter, or the one that against Como couldn't control again, couldn't create enough goal-scoring opportunities. But still, they are there in the European contention, which is what they really need. On the road is 3 defeats in the last 5 for La Viola. You were talking before about the fixture of Napoli in the coming weeks. Well, the fixture in the coming weeks for Fiorentina are also very, very tough and very important, because after Verona they're going to have Lecce, which is all right. They need to win these 2 games, but straight away after Verona and Lecce, they're going to have Napoli, Juventus, Atalanta, and Milan, one after the other. So if they want to have that European contention dream still alive, first they need to do the job against Verona and Lecce next week, but then they need to get points against those very tough 4 fixtures. As said, on the road, 3 defeats in the last 5 for Fiorentina. Verona hasn't scored in the last 3 matches, and they lost 5 and drew 1 of the last 6. Lazio went there recently and scored 3. Atalanta went there recently and scored 5. Away in San Siro last weekend, they hold the Gran Verona for 75 minutes, but we knew once Milan was throwing player after player in those substitutions that it was not going to last long for them. But still, they are sitting 3 points above the relegation spot. Good odds, as we say, on Fiorentina. I'm not going that route. Fiorentina first half Asian handicap minus 0.25, odds of 2.05.
Let's deep into the relegation battle and also Europe. Empoli, Atalanta. Empoli 1 point above relegation in terrible form. They are not in the bottom 3 because Parma are also very poor, but it's 2 points in the last 10 games. So it's Serie B numbers. And for Atalanta, Leo, what to say about this weird game they had against Bruges? The goalkeeper Mignolet saved every single chance. The whole team was in the box, and then in the counter-attack they were able to harm Gasperini's men. In my mind, after the game, was Gasperini's words about Ademola Lookman and why on earth he shot the penalty, even if his rate in the training ground, Gasperini said, is rubbish. So he was super angry at the start of the team. Very few times we see a manager complaining and criticizing the star of the team like Gasperini did.
And at the end of the day, it was absolutely unfair what he said about Lookman. He said it was the worst penalty taker he has ever seen. And we are talking about here the player who gave the team and gave Gasperini an Europa League with that hat-trick against Bayer Leverkusen, who gave a lot to this team. I hope that after the match and when the water settles a little bit, when the pressure goes away, Gasperini may have seen that press conference and thought, okay, what I have done here, and who knows, maybe he had apologized to Lookman. This is football at the end, no? Because as you said, Atalanta battered Club Brugge the other day. We should have gone to halftime with Atalanta winning maybe 3-1, and the result at the break was they were losing 3-0. But we will see if the season is going to derail or no after what happened with Gasperini and Lookman. Lookman made a statement yesterday on social media saying that he felt insulted by Gasperini, that it hurt him to be singled out deeply by the coach. And again, he's right. And Gasperini, he had also in another times not far away fights with the star players in Atalanta. Papu Gomez had a fight with him and had to leave the team. So we're gonna see what's gonna happen with Ademola Lookman. But of course, it's not coming at the best time to have these harsh words on the African Ballon d'Or for Gasperini. But anyway, even despite this turmoil in Atalanta, with Empoli, they shouldn't have any problem still. Empoli is 10 games without a win, with 8 defeats in that run. The last one 3-0 with Udinese. They have conceded 16 times in the last 6 matches, and they sit just 1 point above Parma. And Atalanta should go there and still claim the 3 points, despite even drawing 0-0 with Cagliari on Matchday 25. Away from home, Atalanta, the second best team in Serie A, with 27 points. The best one is Napoli with 28. My take here, Atalanta to win. Atalanta to win combined with goals over 1.5. That takes the odds to 1.96.
Another tragedy for Juventus in this case in Eindhoven. They had the lead 2-1 in the first leg and they lost 3-1 in extra time. to PSV, so out of Europe after being probably in the best moment of the season with 4 consecutive wins, beating Inter in Serie A, but now suddenly I guess the season is kind of poor for 𝐻𝐭𝐵 Motta. The goal must be qualifying again for the Champions League, but I guess, Leo, the Tifosi expected much more when they sacked Allegri after the Coppa Italia final and they got 𝐻𝐭𝐵 Motta, one of the best and youngest managers in Serie A.
Yes, absolutely. Everyone expected more because what 𝐻𝐭𝐵 Motta has done in Bologna, Juventus fans expected that the same. For Motta, he was very cautious all season, talking like they were never Serie A title contenders, but not to even reach the last 16 is terrible for Juventus. He was saying, Motta, that he was going to enjoy PSV pressure. Let's see if he's going to enjoy now Juventus fans pressure, because the Motta out hashtag was trending again in Italy last night after that defeat in extra time with the PSV. Now is the 4th spot or nothing with Juventus. As with AC with Milan, this is financial crash for them. They cannot afford not to play Champions League football in the season. Motta last night played the same team that won against Inter, just Locatelli coming instead of Kefren Turam in midfield, with the idea of having more control and more experience for this type of games. But Juventus never changed their chip. They were a speculative team from the start. They didn't create chances to score, and even if you look at the highlights, you're going to see it's all about red and white. It's all about PSV. And with Inter, it was a similar performance, to the point that the win was more than they deserved, at least, especially in that first half, which wasn't good for Juventus, never taking the initiative. But however, it was a huge win, and that's the reality, and a win that took them, that it could be seen as a 6-pointer after Lazio drew with Napoli. So the 𝐬𝐭𝐴 could now catch up with them with 46 points. Cagliari, on the other side, had a great result away in Bergamo. They rarely left their own half, but they only allow Atalanta 2 shots on target all game, so that was good for them. For the Sardinians at home, no grace in the last 6 matches, 3 wins and 3 defeats. The rest of the teams of the top 4 all won in Cagliari, and they all kept a clean sheet. Napoli won 4-0 in Sardinia, Inter 3-0, Atalanta 1-0. The odds on Juventus are healthy, 1.80 for an away win. Cagliari will resort to what they have done in Bergamo, so I expect the game to open in the second half, as it happened with Napoli and with Inter in Sardinia. So that's why I'm pointing to second half goals over 1.5, second half goals over 1.5, odds of 2.
Bad season overall probably for Juventus. And for Monday we have Roma Monza. Roma, of course, super favorites, climbing in the table, 5 points away from Europe. Of course, in the best moment of the season. It was not a flashy win, the one they had in Parma, but the free kick scored by Soler was really beautiful, and they are playing Porto in the Europa League. That's why they are playing now on Monday. Leo is 6 wins and 3 draws in the last 9 games. Monza absolutely desperate, at least got a point against Lecce, but anyway, this should be a Roma win with no problems.
Yes, absolutely, and they're now also winning away. Roma, they won the last 3 in a row away from home. The last one last weekend, as we mentioned, in the Tardini, that beautiful free kick from Mathias Soler, who had a chance to start to replace Paulo Dybala after Dybala got injured against Porto. A very harsh kick from Alan Varela, another Argentinian, in that first leg in the Estadio do Dragão. They have stretched their unbeaten run in Serie A to 9 games. Roma kept a second consecutive clean sheet for the first time this season in the process, which is for sure very good for Ranieri. Playing at home, only Atalanta, Lazio and Inter have scored more than Roma's 24 goals in 12 matches. They are 5 points behind European places, but their main task in that regard is to reach the Europa League final. Of course, before thinking about any final, they will need to leave Porto behind in the playoff on Thursday night. Monza is traveling to the capital final 2 match days ago, and they lost 5-1 against Lazio. In his return to the club, Nesta managed at least a point with Lecce, as you said. Anyways, 9 defeats in the last 11 matches for them, with just 1 win. The odds on Roma are a safe bet. So my take here is Roma to win 2-0, odds of 2.05.
This is it for our weekend in Serie A. Remember, we have Coppa Italia the following week and Napoli-Inter, almost partita scudetto, as the Italians say. Remember, guys, also that we have our tipster competitions going on, so you can win cash prizes, and you can also register and play with rivals and be able to play with your friends. Leo, safe bet?
Roma to win, 1.33.
And the ACCA?
The ACCA goes with Como Napoli, goals over 2.5. Atalanta to win, Roma to win. This free leaves me with a healthy odds of 4.65.
Thank you. Arrivederci. Bye-bye.